This is the Auckland to Fukuoka yacht race. This one says 1993, but we did 1989.
You did the first one?
Yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Lowell Shepherd of Pacific Solo. So I'm going to share with you a conversation I had with Jaap Mulder about he and his wife Marijkan, who at age 20 in Holland built a boat, sailed her halfway around the world to New Zealand, then entered a yacht race to Japan, sailed back to New Zealand, then back to Japan, Southeast Asia, and now still live aboard here in Fukuoka, Japan. A storehouse of information, a great treasure, a delightful character. And so I'm going to share my conversation with you at the Odo Yacht Harbor, where the yacht race ended in 1989. He gives some tips for offshore sailing, so stay tuned to the end. And I just want to say thank you again to my patrons who make these videos possible. Thank you. There he is.
Hey, Mr. Sailor Pacific.
I met up with Jaap at his live-aboard boat, and then we went to Odo Yacht Harbor, which was the finish line for the Auckland to Fukuoka race that he participated in.
This is advertisement for a yacht race from Auckland, New Zealand to Fukuoka, Japan. But we heard about the race and we decided, well, let's join, and then we signed up for the yacht race. There was a lot of response, but all the boats that got the qualifications to join the race were able to join. Yeah.
And was there a financial incentive to join?
So yeah, so this was sponsored by mostly by Yamaha,
right?
And so we were financially rewarded to take part in the race, but the only reason, the only rule was that we had to arrive within a certain time frame here in Fukuoka,
right?
Which we did.
Right. So, and there were how many legs to the race?
So there were two groups of boats. So there was the real race boats division, and there was a cruising division.
Oh, okay.
And we were of course in the cruising division.
Yeah.
And but there were three legs from Auckland, New Zealand to Suva in Fiji, and then all the boats started again together from Suva to Guam, and then from Guam to Fukuoka. So there were three legs.
And what was the period of time spent at each of those? Suva
we just made it. We made it within the time frame. Okay. So we finished just on time in Suva, and just on time in Guam, and just on time in Fukuoka.
But then how much time did you have in Suva after you just made it?
So in Suva we had something like 3 days.
Okay, wow. So
which was a bit stressful because we had broken the boom and we had to repair the boom, which we managed to fix. And then in Guam we had another layover about 3 or 4 days before the start again.
Okay.
And then in Fukuoka, we were second.
Yeah, second last.
And we arrived in '89, and with the idea of cruising around Japan for a while, to go up to Alaska and Canada.
Right.
But soon my wife got offered a job at an English school to teach English.
Right.
And so we stayed here for 2 years, and then we decided to sail back to New Zealand.
Right.
So we left Fukuoka in October '91, and we arrived in New Zealand in December '92.
Right. Okay.
Via Okinawa, Hong Kong, Macau, Philippines, Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, down to New Zealand. And then we lived in New Zealand for another 2 years. I got a job again in the hospital. And then we want to go cruising again, and somehow the boat sailed back to Japan the second time. We still live on the boat. We don't want to move out of the boat. We still live on the boat, although we don't move the boat around anymore. But I get my ocean and the sea fix from being a crew member on a fishing boat.
Right.
I do deliveries.
Right.
Through a company in Fukuoka, I do deliveries. And we have our hobbies here, and Marijke is quite active in bird watching and recording all the sightings she's doing. And I'm a promoter of camping car, traveling Japan around camping cars and the mountains, hiking. So we enjoy life. It's good. Top tips. Crossing an ocean is easy. It's easy. It's just continue. It's just easy. Coastal cruising is tricky because of the currents, the tides, shipping, more likely to run into rubbish. Coastal cruising is more tricky. So one of the tips is, if you want to build experience, do overnight trips. Overnight trips, staying awake, doing navigation. It's more tricky to see other vessels.
Right.
And if you arrive the next morning in the port, then it really gives satisfaction. So,
right. Good, it's a good point.
I mean, that's what we did in the beginning. I mean, we on our second trip on Jan Haring to England. The first trip we had a crew member on board who had a little bit more experience than we did. But the second trip to England and northern part of France, we were just the two of us. We only did overnight trips.
Right.
With the idea of, in the daytime we have a party time in the harbor, but no.
Right.
That was sleep. But tip number 3, tidy up. Always be prepared for something that might happen. Don't leave the dishes.
Right.
Tidy up as much as possible. Don't leave things flying around in the cockpit.
Right.
The cruising in the northern part of Europe, even in summer, at nighttime it's cold, and we had survival suits. We were living in our survival suits, which is just like ski wear, but a little bit more waterproof. And we were living in those because when you're cold, you get more likely become seasick. So be prepared for what can happen. Also know your system about anchoring.
Right.
Very important. Good anchor.
Right. Any other tips?
Crossing an ocean, you do the magic 3. So you're eating, sleeping, and reading.
Okay, the magic
so
3.
And we so the two of us, we did watches, nighttime watches.
Right.
Watches, we do 2 hours. 2 hours on, 2 hours off, because the person who is on watch, 2 hours is good for concentration, but after that you become more sleepy, and then you might make a mistake. So we did 2 hours on and 2 hours off, and never is the person who is on watch allowed to leave the cockpit without the other person being out on deck as well, or at least sit in the entrance. It's a solid rule, because it's bad if you fall overboard, but for the person that stays behind is worse, to come on the deck and the other one is not there. And we, over the years, we had heard silly stories like this. So yeah.
So I'm a solo sailor.
Yeah. Always clip on.
Always clip on.
Always clip on.
Right.
Better silly than sorry. I always clip on.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that with Jaap talking about his Americans' adventures at sea. Truly a life at sea. They still live aboard. When they're on land, they're in a camper van, so they're actually living in tiny spaces all their lives. A great couple. Remember, it's never too late.